and welcome to episode 2 of Culture Talx. This is the show. We're going to do it frequently. I'm not going to say daily, where we cover trending topics on X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, I don't know how long we're going to keep saying that, but just want to make sure we're on the same page there. We cover anything: politics, sports, news, music, any relevant pop culture, whatever's trending on X that I find interesting, I'm going to talk about. And today, boy, do we have a doozy for you. You can see up on the corner of the screen there, I think you guessed it, we're going to be talking about Joe Rogan today. So there's a lot that's transpired over the past 24 hours, and I just want to throw my 2 cents in there. It's August 9th, and it's 3:25 p.m., so just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at in the timeline. Things can change once I make this video, but as it stands right now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a backgrounder, and then we'll dive into some of my opinions on the topic. So as you can see here, right now, it's trending number 2, at least in the United States, X. Now, what kicked it off is this soundbite. This is the first X post that came up when you click on the trending topic. It's from Colin Rugg. Happening now, right-wing X is shredding Joe Rogan for endorsing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his podcast. The claim: Joe Rogan endorsed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for president. What Rogan said: that's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. The only one who's... I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to play the clip, and you can hear it for yourself.
That's just what they do. That's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm like, what is it? How much of this is real? Because if it's all real, this is fucking insane, and we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them, and then making insane amounts of money. And then also the government is in on it. And also they share a patent with Moderna, and also they share profits, and there's $700 million, I mean, however much money was made, whatever the number is that these guys made off of these products. Like, this is, all of it is fucking crazy. There's the revolving door between the CDC and the FDA and then these pharmaceutical drug companies. So the people that make the regulations then go on to have these cushy jobs with the pharmaceutical drug corporation. It's like, oh, nothing to see here. It's like, it's open. It's right out in the open.
Right.
And when he talks about all that stuff in his book, you're just like, what the fuck, man? If this wasn't true, he would be sued.
Yeah, but
So it seems to be true.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing because people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be attacked. You know, they don't want to be called an anti-vaxxer. That's a big one.
Right.
You know.
It cracked.
So that's the clip that went viral. That's the clip that got all the right-wing people very angry, because I'm not really sure why, but everybody on the right believes that Joe Rogan is the representation of the right-wing conservative movement, and they feel that they were abandoned because of his endorsement of RFK Jr. So I heard that, and it just was basically talking. And then this tweet came out, which kind of changed things a little bit, right from Joe Rogan himself. He retweeted that post, and he said, "For the record, this isn't an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American fucking things of all time. I'm not the guy to get political information from. If you want that from a comic, go to Comic Dave Smith. He actually knows what he's talking about." I second that. Dave Smith is absolutely incredible. Go follow him. He's really funny and incredibly intelligent, and has a lot of really good insights on politics. But I digress. So, just to be clear, and there's a lot to unpack here. I'm trying to keep these not too long, so I'm going to try to keep it as short and concise as possible, and I want these to be organic as well. So I'm just talking off the top of my head. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I'm trying to package them in a concise way. So first of all, I am a Joe Rogan fan. I started listening to his podcast probably around 2016, and the way that he thinks in terms of having an open mind, having people on that he disagrees with, that he agrees with, learning new things, his approach to life. He doesn't silo himself into one specific thing. He's a UFC commentator. He's a podcaster. He is an actor. He's a comedian. I really was just kind of drawn to that type of personality, and I've been really learning about a lot of different topics from his podcast. He has a lot of experts on, and you're not going to mince words here. He's definitely somebody who is very polarizing. I think the people that hate him don't really understand who he is. I think that a lot of people who throw hate his way have never given him a listen, which leads me to the idea that everybody on the right, on the conservative side of the spectrum, has really, in this situation, become the thing that they attack the left for doing, and that's kind of the cancel culture. And now I know they're not trying to cancel Joe Rogan, but there is a lot of mudslinging that you see going on because of the statement that he made about RFK Jr. And I think if you're trying to win political sway with undecided voters, attacking those who think a little bit differently than you is not the way to go about trying to convince people to join your side of the spectrum. And to be clear, personally, I feel like I'm politically homeless. I'm very, very educated on politics. It's almost a hobby of mine to kind of learn about politics, the inner workings of the system, and stay up to date with everything that's going on. So I know more than the average bear in terms of politics. And I really think that if you are all in on one side or the other, that means that you haven't even understood what the other side is about. I really believe that, because I think somewhere, I don't know how long it dates back. I'm 38 years old, but I would say maybe in the 80s, 90s, the common phrase, you don't want to speak politics or religion, outside the dinner table. I think that's really hurt us, because I think that coincided with the rise of the internet. And if you feel very strongly about one way or another, you can almost enclose yourself in that world and never see beyond the horizon that you believe in. So if I am an all-out Democrat, I love the Democrat Party, I'm a really big lefty, I'm going to follow accounts that I agree with on Twitter or on X. I'm going to follow and respond to those people. I'm going to post things that are virtue signaling to signal to the crowd that I'm a part of the Klan, like my stuff. Every one of those little likes, every one of those comments, that's a dopamine hit. And don't get me wrong, the same thing is on the right as well. When you see people wearing MAGA hats, and it's the same thing as, people wearing masks, it's a virtue signal, all right, most of the time. Obviously, there are situations where people require masks. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that say, I'm not going to take my mask off because then people will think I'm a Republican. That exists, which is just as crazy as people wearing MAGA hats and getting in people's faces about Donald Trump. These people are not to be idolized. Understand that the political system, we need to do our due diligence as citizens. We need to understand, the power is with the people, and that seems to have been lost. The illusion that you need to decide one team or another is insane to me. And for the years that I followed Joe Rogan, he says a lot of stuff that I don't agree with, but I still listen to him. Ask yourself, if you're listening to this, how many friends do you have that you disagree with politically? If it took you a second, or you're still trying to think of somebody that you don't agree with politically, that's a problem, okay? If you don't understand in depth the other side of the argument, that's, I think, what has led to the situation that we're in as a country right now in the United States. So when Joe Rogan goes on his podcast and just says that RFK Jr. seems like a good guy, he doesn't. I mean, he's had him on the show. When he talks about he cares about the environment and he's not mudslinging or attacking the other opponents, which he isn't. Okay, that's fine. Like if Joe Rogan's not going to vote for Trump, that's okay. Because guess what? You can vote for whoever you'd like to. That's how the United States works. So the idea that it seems like the right has become the very thing that they hate the left for. And it's funny being somebody who is outside of that political spectrum, just sitting back, watching both teams go at each other, accusing each other of the same things that they're doing is just insane to me. It seems like an endless cycle of lunacy. And there was a popular meme that Elon Musk had posted on X multiple times, I believe, where, it's called the Overton window, where, you have the right and the left, and then you have the middle. And the right doesn't move, and the left keeps moving and keeps moving and keeps moving. So the Overton window, basically of where the middle is, of what's acceptable in society, keeps shifting left and left and left. So if you were in the middle 20 years ago, and the left keeps shifting, you haven't moved on any of your ideas. Now you seem like you're on the right side of the political spectrum. And that's something that I think needs to be taken into account. Because things seem to be getting more extreme by the day, and social media doesn't help. I love my country. I love the United States, and I want us to succeed. I don't care who the president is. I want them to be successful, and I want them to put our country first. So whether it's Kamala Harris or it's Donald Trump, good luck to both of you. I hope that whoever wins looks out for the American people first and foremost, and I hope that we can have honest discussions about the state of our country and where we want it to go as a group. All this divisiveness and all this hatred towards the other side, we have much more in common with each other than we think. And I just don't understand what people on the right get out of attacking Joe Rogan for just saying that he likes JFK or RFK Jr. I just simply don't understand what you think you get by doing that. They just did it the same thing with Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse is just a young kid who obviously got caught up in a crazy situation, and I'm not going to, it is what it is, that situation. But the right held him on this pedestal that the kid did not ask to be on, and then he did the same thing last week. He came out and he said that he didn't agree with Trump's stance in the Second Amendment. He wasn't going to be voting for him. And the right went after the poor kid. We have the right to free speech in this country. That's what this country is all about. Instead of attacking him, say, listen, you may be, and I listen, I don't know enough about, what he said, but, approach it with listen, Kyle, I understand you don't want to vote for Trump because of his stance in the Second Amendment. Why don't you come on my show? Let's talk about it. I like to educate you on a couple of things. Let me hear your perspective, and we'll go from there. That's where real progress happens. Screaming, shouting, and trying to burn the system down by attacking others is not going to get us anywhere, and it needs to stop. So, listen, I've lived in New York. That's where I'm from. I'm from the state of New York, which obviously does not get any more liberal than that, maybe California. And then I live in Texas now, and it does not get any more conservative than that. So I've seen both ends of the political spectrum, and I got to be honest with you. If in your hierarchy of your personal accomplishments or achievements or belief systems, if I ask, explain yourself, and the first thing you say is liberal or, a Democrat or Republican, I'm sorry, you gotta focus on better things to do with your time. You know what I mean? I know that is a very important thing, but at the same time, how about father or mother or, your profession that you love? If you're a carpenter, you know what I mean? Political teams seem to be the easiest way to gain attention on the internet by not really doing anything. You know what I mean? You can just, during COVID, put a profile picture up that you got the jab and you get 1,000 likes. You know, like, same thing on the right. You can put a MAGA picture up and all of a sudden you're getting a ton of likes because you put that MAGA picture up. And it's like a false sense of accomplishment for just picking a side and then just blindly following it. Understand that our country is much more than that, and every situation is so nuanced. Take the time to understand it, learn, and do some research and understand what the other side is. What I truly believe is that you should be able to argue the other side's point for them in order to truly understand your perspective. So that's the end of my rant on the Joe Rogan situation. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but like I said in the beginning, I really like Joe Rogan a lot. He's somebody that I would love to meet someday. I mean, the guy has been an inspiration for me. The idea of what he's built just by talking to people from all walks of life, doing all kinds of different things. I think the world could use, more of that, and I think it's great. And I just don't understand the hatred for him saying that. He never even said he endorsed RFK. He just said he liked the guy, and he said that, who else could you vote for? That's not an endorsement. And then he came out and personally said that he wasn't endorsing him. So that's my Culture Talks today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure I'm going to have people disagree with me, and again, that's fine. Listen, I'm always open to hearing the other side of the discussion. I'm an open book, but let's keep it civil, right? Let's understand where the other one's coming from, and we'll agree to disagree. Take data points from each other's discussions and move forward as a country. First and foremost, we're Americans. Let's see our country succeed. All right. So it's going to get crazy these next couple months leading up to the election, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot more discussion about this kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe to the channel here. I am primarily a fitness guy, but I really love the just talking about different topics like this, expanding my horizons, and getting to know what you think about this kind of stuff too. So until next time. This was Culture Talks. I don't really know. I'm not going to be able to do this daily, but I will be able to do this as much as I possibly can, especially when I have a topic that I'm really interested in talking about. So you're going to see these more often than not. So until next time, my name's Goldie. I'm here in Dallas, Texas. I'll see you soon.